right, so thank you all so much for joining us tonight for our May Durham Women's Network live chat. We're really excited to see you all today, especially after we've spent so many weeks indoors and we finally had some beautiful weather. So hopefully you are out on a patio with a glass of wine or a nice seltzer. I'm Jen, and with me is Kerri.
Hi, everybody. Nice to see you. Thanks for joining us tonight. I know it's a beautiful, beautiful evening tonight, but we're going to have a quick chat, and I think it's going to be worth your time. So stick around for the next 30 minutes or so, and
ask your questions if you have some too in the chat. Please, for sure, get your questions out there because you will want to get some of them in. Today we have Kerri Rizzo from Eat Travel Rock with you. Kerri is an amazing international personality who has traveled around the world meeting famous chefs, industry influencers, musicians, industry heavyweights, so many people in the entertainment industry. She's been featured in VH1, Rolling Stone, E! News, and she really has brought to life, what it means to follow your passions in life and basically how one can take their passions and build a business out of it. So we're going to talk with her today and we're going to admit her in. So are we ready, Kerri?
I think we're ready. I'm just trying to find us on my Facebook live feed here so I can maybe comment as you're having the conversation.
Thank you. Hello, Kerri.
Hello.
Hi, Kelly.
How are you ladies doing? Thanks for having me.
We're so excited to have you. Thanks so much for joining us.
We are so excited.
Honored to be here.
Joining us from tonight, Kerri?
So I'm in Chicago, so not too far from you guys. Normally I'm in Los Angeles, but I'm visiting some family here in Chicago. So only an hour flight from you guys.
Amazing. Yes, we can't wait until travel picks up again, that's for sure. And that's one thing I just, in the intro, before we brought you on, we noted about your production, Eat Travel Rock, and just, how much you're involved with traveling and exploring culture, food, and music. And I think for so many of the women that are on today and in this group, they see this as like the dream job.
And I know I do. I certainly do, that's for sure.
Well, it's just like anything. Sometimes things can look a little bit more glamorous than they are, and for sure, it's definitely evolved into something that I would consider it's one of those things where if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. It's that type of thing. So yes, I absolutely love it. It's something that I've kind of curated myself, I guess. So I guess whenever you kind of build your own business and you're working for yourself, you can kind of make it what you want it to be. And it's been very fulfilling. But, just like anything, you're always like, you might get to a place where people are like, oh my God, that's amazing. Like, or it's a dream job. But then in your head, you're like, yeah, but it's not really where I want it to be yet. So you're always trying to kind of get to that next level, to that next step. And I guess you're never truly, truly satisfied, right? But you're always happy with the progress.
But when you set out, Kelly, did you imagine, is this sort of how you imagined it to be? Because you have like an amazingly curated brand, and the way you produce all of your segments are so well done. Is that kind of how you kind of assumed it would be? Was that your vision, or did it kind of morph and grow into that?
Very interesting, because when I really started Eat Travel Rock almost about a decade ago. It was probably 2011, 2012. And there was no such thing as an influencer back then.
Right.
There was no such thing as, Instagram didn't exist. There's YouTube and people had blogs. So really at the time I was just like, I just want to start a blog. I just want to do that. I want to share what I'm passionate about. And I don't know if you ladies know this, I had almost a 20-year career in real estate before I started this. And I got really burnt out on it. It was just not, ultimately, after almost 2 decades of even working with my family, which, of course I loved working with them, but I was like, this is not what I want to do. It's not what I'm passionate about. And, I kind of had almost like a midlife crisis when I was, in my early 30s. And I'm like, what do I want to do? Like, I just want to share what I'm passionate about and what I love and what I can speak to and what I really enjoy doing. And I'm like, that's food, travel, and music. So I literally went online and I bought eattravelrock.com. And I'm like, okay, now what? I guess I'll start a blog. And I just started writing it first. And then people really started responding to it. And then I knew I wanted to do more on camera work and more video content. I mean, at the time, nobody even said content, that wasn't
Right,
a thing
yeah.
yet. But I knew I wanted to do more on camera, more video. And so I started just kind of hustling. I was like, just anyone I was meeting, I was using all my connections from being in Chicago at the time for, my whole life. And I started interviewing a ton of country music stars at like our biggest like country music venue in Chicago. And I was doing like the backstage interviews, and then that kind of evolved into this local food show. And then that kind of evolved into, teaming up with my producer at the time who used to work for Oprah. She was a producer for the Oprah Winfrey Show for years. And then she started her own company. So we teamed up and then started making Eat Travel Rock TV like 7 years ago, maybe 8 years ago. And then at the time I was still working in real estate because there was no such thing as really having this be like a job. It was just something I was kind of doing on the side. And then I'm like, wait, no, I think I want to do this full time. And then you just kind of make it happen. You like wing it and you gotta just figure it out as you go.
How long did it take you from like thinking you really want to do it full time to actually saying, I'm going to stop showing houses and actually do it? Like that whole...
I would say from like 2011, 2012 is when I started. And then by probably 2015, maybe 2016 is when I really was doing this full time. So, it took a few years, but I would say really once I ramped up, maybe only like 1 to 2 years.
Oh, wow. I know Jen has a lot of questions, so I'm going to stop hogging the questions.
Oh, I love it. Kerri and I, it's so funny. Well, because I see a lot of parallels as well. Like, really, what's interesting is, you talk about that pivot from your career change, right? And following your passion. And so that's a big thing, in the Durham Women's Network that we really focus on as we look to like empower other women. It's all about like what makes you feel good. And like you can build a business out of doing what you love. So what was important to you as you set out to build your own personal brand? Like, did you have anything that, like, how did you feel about getting out there and putting yourself out there? How did you get over like any fears that you had of putting yourself out there so much?
Well, I would say from being a professional and being in sales for so many years before, I really was kind of fearless when it came to kind of selling myself, and not in the bad way, in the good way. From being like just talking to anybody, whether it was like a CEO or because I'd done that for so many years. I didn't have the fear of like, what if somebody says no? Because I was used to people saying no in sales, and so I really was kind of fearless when it came to just presenting myself and presenting my vision and talking to people. So, and a lot of people now, what I find is interesting here, actually, I'm going to try to close this shade behind me because I know that lighting's a little weird. Maybe that's a lot better. So what's interesting now is like in this field of influencers, you see there's so many people like in their 20s and maybe that didn't have like professional backgrounds. And I noticed that sometimes they'll say like, wait, aren't you like nervous to reach out to that person? I'm like, no, what's the worst that they could say is no. Like, and then, do you know how many no's I've gotten? Do you know how many times I've been rejected? Like it happens all the time. You just can't be afraid of it. It's part of the process. If you just accept that it's part of the process and you accept the fact that it's going to happen, then it doesn't bother you. And so that's kind of been fun to kind of maybe mentor some people that are as I said, a lot of influencers now, they're super young, they're in their 20s and they haven't like done this before. They didn't have almost 20 years in, let's say, in sales to really understand kind of the game. So, if you understand that, hey, you're going to be told no a lot, then it's fine. And if you accept it, it's all part of the thing.
I think that's a good point though too. And like every step along the way in your career, in your life really sets you up for that next chapter, right? Like even, if your first job or two is not your dream job, it gets you that much closer.
Oh yeah. I mean, I've done so many, gigs as we call them, like along the way that, back in the day, let's say 5, 6, 7 years ago that I today wouldn't do. But at the time I was like, oh my God, like somebody wants to pay me to like go to a restaurant. Like, oh my God, like what? Where now it's like things are a little different. But back then it was like, you do. And then, but those are what you learn from. And they build up the experience. They build up a little maybe humility and a little bit of integrity. And like, the more you do, then the more you do, it's everything is just a kind of a little stepping stone to where you want to go.
So do you have any recommendations for, I mean, there's a lot of sort of younger women that are just kind of coming out of school, and some of them have even worked with us, helping us build the network, and they want to sort of build a career in this field. What would you, and do you have any recommendations for people like that are just starting out and would like to be able to grow their communication skills and perhaps even build a following? I mean, yours is pretty massive.
Well, it's all relative, right?
Taking time, right?
Yeah, and I would say that, I mean, probably my best advice is kind of, maybe extrapolating a little bit on what I was just saying is, not be afraid of the process, not be afraid to be told no. But as you mentioned, even communication, that ultimately is the most important thing. I don't care what business you're in. I don't care whether you are, you're working at a restaurant, or you are running your own ad agency, or you are some massive celebrity on the biggest TV show that there is. Communication is everything, and it will set you apart from being somebody who people can tell maybe are new to the business versus the real pros. It doesn't matter what the job is. Communicating is everything. Like if somebody sends me an email, I respond, if not immediately, how about as immediately as I possibly can. I over communicate, it's kind of that also under promise, over deliver, always tell people, exactly what's going on. And I learned this from my real estate career. If you're dealing with a buyer or seller or a client, you have to keep them in the loop. And it's the same thing if you're an influencer and you're working with a client, and let's say, you owe them something and it's maybe it's going to be a little bit late. Don't just be late. You tell them up front, like, I'm so sorry, there's a little delay in this. Like, you just over communicate. And I've learned over the years that type of extra communication is really what sets you apart, and why I have people come back to me that want to work with me over and over again, because they know that I do bring that level of professionalism to this, even though some people, as you said, oh, it like looks like this dream job and glamorous. It doesn't matter what type of line of work you're in. You need to be like super responsible and super professional and over communicate, and always let people know that you're taking it seriously.
Okay, thank you. That was really, really useful for sure.
Well, thanks. I was just going to add a quick little thing. My husband, for instance, like he's been in this industry for 40 plus years. Well, not influencer, but entertainment industry for 40 plus years. And, has built a very large name for himself. And I've never met anybody that is less of a diva and who is more professional in terms of responding to emails, responding to phone calls, text messages, is always on time. Like, no matter what the issue is, if you email him, he will respond himself within 10 minutes. It's that efficient, that professional. And it's like that type of thing why people know that he'll be great to work with, because you know, so it doesn't matter what level you are at in the game.
Can I just jump in and note to our viewers today, Kelly's husband is the hilarious Bob Saget. Hilarious. Like, definitely grew up watching Full House and loving
I know
everything.
it was very big in Canada too, wasn't it? It was
huge.
Yeah, it's so funny because there's different, I mean, obviously Canada and the US have a lot of the same programming, but it's very interesting to see what countries around the world had Full House. Like some countries it was huge in, and some it was non-existent. And so depending on like where he goes in the world, or where like certain fan bases will be either like huge fan, like in Brazil they're huge fans, and in Spain they're huge fans, but like in Italy nobody really knows who he is. It's very interesting, like where in the world had Full House.
So you know where to have
funny all the time, or is he just funny when he's working?
Anyone that truly knows comedians, because first and foremost he's a comedian. He was a you know, stand-up comedian even before he was an actor or did any acting. But anyone that knows comedians knows that they're probably comedians because they actually had really difficult lives. And most of them had a very painful life or like traumatic lives or something, and they had to use comedy to be able to cope and to deal with their circumstances. So usually comedians are actually very dark people. And Bob's really, sorry to burst any bubbles, it's interesting. He's like this perfect dichotomy. He has this like kind of dark and, you know, like gallows humor type side where, you know, if something really horrible happens, like he's really good at like making jokes about it, like that type of thing. But he's also does have, I mean, a lot of levity to him, and he is, I mean, he's definitely hilarious. And yes, I would say at home 50% of the time he's cracking me up, and then the other 50% of the time I'm like, do you have to be so serious all the time? You know what I mean? I'm like, come on. And like, but if I go to make a joke with him, oh, you can't do that. Like, you can't do that. I'm like, you
can't be funny then? So you can't be funny?
I can be funny, but it's more like making a joke. Like, you can't joke with him, you know, like making a joke kind of at his expense. Like, he could do it to me, but if I do it to him, like, he'll be like, oh, I'm like, yeah. So I can't joke with you, you're a comedian. Like that, what fun is this, you know? But it depends.
One thing that I love though is you've gotten him on like some hilarious like Instagram creating sprees where it's like, you know, you're influencing what he's now posting. Like, tell me a bit about that. I think it's just
so funny. It is funny because he will, like when we first started dating, he was, in a sense, he's a very private person. And then obviously in a sense, like, you know, he has his social media that he's always posting on and stuff like that too. Oop. Hold on one second. This is blowing open. There's nobody there. But well, let me just close this door. I'm going to leave it. It's not called the Windy City for no reason. The wind blew it open. I think it'll be fine, hopefully. So when we first started dating, he was like very, 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 very private. And then I'm like, okay, well, you kind of are dating a food blogger, food influencer, travel influencer. Like, I need to post stuff, you know? And then we moved in together. I'm like, well, I need to, you know, start cooking in the kitchen and doing my videos. And at first he was a little against it. And then ultimately I opened him up to it a little bit. And then now he's kind of all in. Like now he like doesn't mind as much if I'm even dragging him into my videos and we're making TikToks together. And now
I like the one
TikTok
where he had the
I
mask on. Where he had the mask on in the car, and that was hilarious.
Oh my gosh, yes, where we were like deciding where our next vacation would be, and I'm in my snowboard gear and he's in his like 1980s diving gear. Yeah.
Or when he like, you have 5 different travel outfits and he has one that's exactly the same 5 times
Yes.
over.
Yes, we just shot that when we were in Mexico last week for our birthdays. And
Happy birthday.
oh, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, we're 2 days apart. Well, a few years and 2 days apart. So yeah, we like to celebrate every year. Do a little trip that's like a joint birthday trip.
Nice.
Yeah.
I have to ask you, and I know this is probably not a very appropriate question, but I love your sunglasses. Where do you
Oh
get
my
them?
gosh. Oh, you're so
Those black
sweet.
ones with the
Those
like
are
chic
fun. I'm
ones with
thinking,
the
I'm like, do I have them in here? I
oh
think they're
my
in the other
God, they're
room.
so cool. They're so cool.
I got those a month ago at this cool little boutique in Nashville.
Oh, you're probably
But
getting
I
them
can
everywhere
find
you
out,
go.
I can find out the name. No, I got
Oh.
2 pair of those. I'll find out the name and then I'll email you after.
Oh, you're
And,
so
and then you can share it if you want. Guys, this
So you
door
need a
is so
sunglass
ominous. I'm
sponsor.
like, so far so good, but
Well, it
man, it
looks
is
like it's
so windy
fine.
here today.
Oh yeah,
It
it's
is
fine.
so,
Everything's great.
I know it's so windy here today. It's like, and what's the weather like there? Is it warm right now
Like super
or?
hot.
Yeah, same. It's so hot here today. And then the rest of the week is going to be cold and rainy. So of
Yeah.
course, right when I get here is when the
Oh,
weather starts to take a turn for the worse.
yeah.
So what
I love Toronto. I cannot wait to come to Toronto again. So as soon as you guys start to open up a little bit more,
And
I will
when you
be
come,
the
you'll
first
have to
guest.
come. You'll have to come to the gallery. I'm the CEO of a local public art gallery, and would love to host you and take you through. And you know, maybe we'll do some foodie
Please.
stuff or something like that if you come. If you come to the
Oh, I would
Toronto way.
love to. I'd love
Happy to
to.
host you.
Toronto is one of my favorite cities in the whole world. It actually, a lot of people do compare it to Chicago and say it has, it has a similar vibe to Chicago. So I've always felt very at home there.
I can't wait to go to Chicago. My first memory was the Perfect Strangers like theme song of like
Oh my
Cub
gosh.
All my
I
memories are
loved
like
that
80s.
show. I
Oh,
loved
God.
that show.
But yeah, so what tips do you have? Because you've been out traveling already like a couple of times. So what tips do you have for people who are planning trips and getting ready to travel over the next few months?
Well, it's interesting because a lot of people, I'm sure, especially in Canada, where you guys have been, had things a little bit more difficult lately. It's been a little bit more lockdown. I know there hasn't been as much access to the vaccine and things like that. So it's, it's a little bit slower of a process. I would say for people to just really go at their own pace, because I've noticed that whether it's myself or whether family or friends, that some people are like at different stages. Some people are ready to get back out there and travel just right away. And some people have been a little bit more apprehensive and not as comfortable. So, like, let's say you're invited on a trip and you just don't feel comfortable going yet. Like, that's okay. Like, everyone is at kind of a different stage here. I will say that I feel incredibly safe traveling. Now being vaccinated, it kind of takes things to a totally different level and of comfort. I'm much more comfortable. I mean, I was pretty comfortable being on a plane from the very beginning because I know how incredibly clean the air on planes is, contrary to popular belief. I actually went behind the scenes. United Airlines took me onto the tarmac one day and they showed me like the HEPA filters and they showed me like the actual cleaning systems that they do. And I mean, all major airlines are doing the same thing. So like Air Canada is like the exact same process. But the way that they keep the planes clean, I've seen it with my own eyes, exactly what they do. And so it made me feel very comfortable. Same thing with hotels. Hotels are going above and beyond to not only keep common areas clean, keep common areas like social distancing, mask wearing, things like that. But hotel rooms are cleaned at a certain level. And so obviously you want to make sure that you're also choosing a hotel that goes above and beyond to make sure, like for instance, like Hilton has like the clean stay program, and different hotels have different like, a name for like their sterilizing process and everything. So, you want to make sure that you're selecting hotels that do that. And same thing, know that when you're flying that, you know, especially if everyone's wearing a mask on the plane, you're going to be very, very safe. And a lot of people are, you know, want to take things slower. So how about a road trip? I mean, there's a ton of places that you can go within driving distance, no matter where you live. You know, you can go somewhere for like an hour, you can go somewhere for 8 hours, you know, and at least feel like you're kind of getting the travel, you know, vibe going again, and kind of get at least leave the house. But maybe if you're not ready to fly yet, that's another really great option.
It must be challenging for you too, like with what you do, because like the whole, I mean, restaurants, eat, travel, rock, it's like everything about what you do has been on hold. I mean, and
Yeah.
you've still been able to create content, you've still been able to engage, but I mean, I came from the concert industry and working and owning nightclubs.
Oh, wow.
And in my early 20s, and you know, one of the biggest passions of my life is live music. And it's like, you know, I like miss that so much. I think I miss live music more than anything. Like, it's just so hard. And you know, I mean, I guess you go to Nashville regularly, and maybe there are some smaller clubs you can go and see music. Now, I don't know, because we don't have that in Ontario right now, but that's like
Right.
certainly one of the things I miss the most. I mean, I love restaurants and
Right. Well, live music has been very limited, I mean, in general, but in my life, I think I've seen, I actually did go to Nashville about a little over a month ago, and I was kind of thrust into a live music situation that I was not really aware was going to happen. I went to this new restaurant opening, and I figured, I'm like, oh, it'll be outside, it'll be outdoors, right? And I get
Right.
there and it's fully indoors and nobody has a mask on. And I was like, well, I'm here now, so what do I do? You know, and then of course, you know, you have a couple drinks and I'm like, woohoo, you know, and then it was like John Party, like a famous country singer, he was performing at this bar, like it was a small bar restaurant.
Wow,
He got
that
up and
sounds so
performed
cool.
and did a full set. And I was like, all right, well, I'm doing this. This is
It's
happening. I
happening.
was watching live music and it was very, very exciting. And but that has been something for many people has been lacking. But fortunately, and hopefully this happens for you guys too this summer, or at least into fall, you know, that there are a lot of the outdoor concerts and festivals are coming back, you know, like Lollapalooza's back,
Yeah.
you know, a ton of the bigger festivals, and, you know, in California, obviously a lot of things in the South have been back for a while. So hopefully that happens for you guys soon. Do you guys have any news kind of on if that might be happening more like later summer?
Later summer, like mid-August, maybe.
Yeah.
Like the gallery that I run is probably with, you know, it depends on, you know, there's 21 days sort of as a part of each of our lockdown phases that, you know, reopening Ontario, but it looks
Right.
like probably mid-August will be the time for us to reopen, if all goes planned. So it's kind of hard because, you know, it's the whole summer, but, you know, it's beautiful
Right.
weather and people are like, I'm like fixing my garden and trying to make my home as beautiful as I can make it, and, you know, trying to get fit.
Yeah.
And on that note, I wanted to ask you how you stay so fit when you eat all those big ass burgers.
Well, how about this? Thank you for thinking that I'm staying very, very fit. I will say
Well,
that
you're so
everything,
gorgeous, my God.
oh my
You
God,
are.
thank you. You are very, very, very too kind, too kind. It all goes in phases, you know.
Yeah.
It's like I'll have a month where I'm a little bit more indulgent and I'm traveling more and it's harder to work out because I'm on the road more, and you know, it's there's only so much you can do. And then once you get in that groove, then you're like, oh well, I ate so much, I'm tired, I don't want to work out. And then it's kind of the cycle. And then all
Yeah.
of a sudden you go back home after a few weeks and then you're like, ooh, okay, I need to make some changes. I'm not going anywhere for a couple of weeks. Juice cleanse, you know, living in LA, that's like a whole lifestyle out there. You know, it's like juice, Pilates, you know, not indulging, eating clean. And then you do that for a few weeks and it kind of balances out. So I don't think I could live either way where I'm doing just one thing
One or the other.
consistently always, you know, like some people can have that healthy lifestyle. Maybe they'll have a little cheat day here and there, but mine's usually like I try to be as clean as possible, but then, you know, you have times where if you're on a trip or something, you want to indulge, you want to have a few drinks, you want to have the local cuisine. You're not going to be, you know, if somebody feeds you some glorious meal that's their indigenous, you know, dish, you're not going to say like, no, sorry, I'm watching what I eat. You know, you
Totally.
eat it and you live life, and then you go home, and then you you know,
I do
watch
the
it for a
same.
little bit.
I do the same thing. It's so great to see that that's how you are, because I just love seeing all your posts. And wow, your trip to Japan, that looked so cool. The sushi and like,
oh my gosh. Thank you for saying
That's the set
that.
of glasses I really like, the ones you were wearing in Japan.
Ooh, I think those were aviators. Those might have been plastic Ray-Ban aviators, if I remember correctly.
So cool.
Thank you. But Japan is probably my favorite trip that I've ever been on. That was my first international trip with Eat Travel Rock, and it will be the one I'll remember forever because it was such a special experience. And it's the place where I like am actually in pain that I haven't been back again.
Yeah.
And like every month I'm like, when can I go back to Japan? When can I go back to Japan? And I was really going to try to go last year, and then you know, obviously lockdown happened. And now it's like I keep like every month I'm checking like when are they letting people back in, but I don't think they're, I mean, obviously they have the Olympics supposedly, if that's happening, which I assume, but my next place is Japan when I'm able to. That's the next trip I'm booking.
I know. My brothers lived there, and I had the opportunity to go when I was in my 30s, or no, late 20s, and the food was so incredible. And I just remember like getting there, and they had these outdoor vending machines with coffee in it, it was
hot vending machines.
And it was like green tea, and I was drinking them everywhere, and then I couldn't figure out I didn't know the green tea had all that caffeine in it. I was like wide awake all night.
They have like hot vending machines, which is fascinating. But then what's strange, and there's so many interesting like cultural differences that you would never really think of. Like I remember once I got a coffee or some sort of, you know, snack or something kind of to go, and then I'm walking around Tokyo and I'm like, where do I throw it out? Like there's no garbage cans like anywhere on the streets, anywhere. I remember I had to walk like miles, literally miles, like carrying this. I'm like, where do I put this? And like, you can't go in another store and throw it. So, and people are like, no, they just don't have that on the street here because people don't like, you go in a coffee place and you eat there, you know, like it's just not a thing. So I'm like, oh, all right.
Wow.
Little interesting cultural differences, you know.
Thank you for sharing that. Thanks, Kelly.
Yeah.
Our time is coming to an end, but I am so glad that we got to have this conversation. And I think it's giving a lot of people an idea of what we can look forward to as we start to emerge out of our own lockdown here, and watching, you know, what's happening in the States. You know, a lot is opening back up again, and we're going to get there too. So I do encourage everybody to check out Kelly's social channels at Eat Travel Rock, because it will definitely give you some travel inspiration, especially as things get back to normal and you start booking your trips. Check it out. Kelly just brings a real personality to the way she shares, you know, information about culture and food and music. So check that out. And thank you, Kelly. We hope to cross paths again with you very soon.
Thank you, ladies, so much. I just want to say that even leading up to this chat, you ladies have both been just so lovely and so wonderful and so supportive and just so kind. And I'm just honored that you had me on. So thank you so much. And if any of your viewers, you know, have any travel questions or want some travel advice, anyone, my DMs are open. Just anyone can DM me, and I'll always do my best to get back to everybody and answer your travel questions directly. So, I mean, I guess food too, or music too, of course, but travel is usually what people, especially right now, are looking for. And, you know, I know that the anxiety of getting out there again is real, but just take your time, go at your own pace, and the world will be opening up soon. And, thank you ladies so much for having me. I
Thank
really
you.
appreciate it.
Thanks, Kelly.
Thank you.
Have a great
Oh.
evening. Thanks for taking time out.
Thank you. And sorry again for the Windy City.
That's the way it is.